Hello, Nghia. Nice to see you today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nice to meet you again.
Right. Do you know what we're going to do today?
Today we are going to read a story, a little girl riding hood, a red girl riding hood.
Right. So it's a bit complicated for you. So we're going to read a story. We're going to read a story. And the story has to do with a basket, right? So a basket is an important part of the story. And something else which is important that you were trying to say is Red Riding Hood.
Red Riding Hood.
This here is the hood of the cape. And many years ago, women used to wear a cape like this and maybe a hat to go riding on a horse to protect them from the weather. So the person who wrote this story will be inspired by this. So it's called Red Riding Hood. So lots of rest, no? Red and riding. So we are going to read a story today called Little Red Riding Hood. Little because she is a girl. No? So it's a very traditional story. What can you see in this picture?
I see in this picture, I see basket, a red riding hood.
Yes, and where do you think she is? Where is she, in the city or?
No, I see
in the forest.
In the forest.
Right? And another word for forest is wood, W-O-O-D. So you can call it a forest or a wood.
Yeah.
And we can see that because of the trees, the flowers. And do you know the name of this animal here, who is a character in the story?
Yeah, I remember that the wolf.
The wolf, right? So we've got Little Red Riding Hood, a young girl with her basket in the woods, and there is a wolf. So these are the main characters of our story today.
Yeah.
So if you would be so kind, would you like to start reading?
Yes. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little girl. Everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red riding hood. It had been given to her by her grandmother, who loved the little girl very much. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said, "Here, child, take this basket to your grandmother. It's got bread, butter, cake, and berries in it. She's feeling sick, and I hope this will make her feel better. Don't talk to strangers. Don't leave the path, and walk straight to your grandma's house."
So you can imagine this story is set many years ago. And before it was traditional, if someone was ill, to take them some food, something for them to eat while they were getting better. And here, the white stones here is the path. A path is where you have to walk. So we have the little girl, Little Red Riding Hood, and she's on her way on the path to go and see her grandmother. And her mother's told her to be very careful, right? So here we have in this picture, the mother saying goodbye to the little girl and telling her, be careful, Don't talk to strangers and keep to the path.
Yeah.
Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother lived half an hour away in the woods outside the village. So Little Red Riding Hood set off. The girl had just entered the woods when a wolf came out of the trees. She wasn't scared because she didn't know wolves are dangerous. Good day, Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf greeted her. Good day, Mr. Wolf, the girl replied. Where are you going? He asked. I'm going to visit my grandmother because she isn't feeling well, Little Red Riding Hood replied. What do you have in that basket? Asked the wolf. I have some bread, butter and cakes and berries to take to my grandma. So she's made another mistake because she's told the wolf a lot of information about herself. So here we have the wolf, and here we have her in the woods picking flowers. Maybe she saw the flowers and she liked them. Off you go.
Excellent. And where does your grandma live? Asked the wolf, and Little Red Riding Hood explained exactly where her grandma lived. They walked together for a while. Then the wolf spoke again. What lovely flowers there are here. Why don't you pick some for your grandma? The girl looked around and saw all those beautiful flowers. She thought that her grandmother would be delighted to have some fresh flowers, and despite her mother's advice, she left the path while Little Red Riding Hood went deeper into the woods to pick flowers. The wolf went straight to her grandmother's house. He knocked on the door and heard the voice inside. Who is it? It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. I've brought you bread, butter, cake, and berries, the wolf said, disguising his voice.
So if you disguise your voice, you change your voice. So it doesn't sound like you. So he is trying to be like Little Red Riding Hood so that the grandmother will let him in.
Yes.
How lovely. Give the door a push and come in. I don't have the strength to come and open it. The wolf entered the house, went to the old woman's bed and ate her whole. Then put her clothes on and slipped into the bed. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived at her grandmother's house, she noticed the door was open. The little girl went in and went to the bedroom. Usually, she felt very happy at her grandmother's, but that day she felt different. Good morning, she said, but no one replied. Her grandmother looked strange. Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have, explained Little Red Riding Hood. All the better to hear you with, the wolf replied in a fake voice. Oh, grandmother, What big eyes you have, she continued. All the better to see you with, the wolf said. So here in the pictures, we can see the little girl knocking on the door. And she's starting to feel not very happy. There's like something in the atmosphere that she's a little worried. And in the second picture, we can see the wolf in the bed acting as though he is the grandma. Right. Off you go. Nghia, you're going to read the first part?
Yes.
Go.
Oh, Grandma, what big hands you have. All the better to grab you with, the wolf said. Oh, Grandma, what a big mouth you have, exclaimed Red Riding Hood. All the better to eat you with. The wolf roared, jumped off the bed, and ate the poor girl whole. With his stomach full, the wolf got back into Grandma's bed and fell asleep, snoring loudly. A huntsman who was passing by the house heard him and thought it was strange for the old woman to snore so loudly. He looked inside and saw that it was the wolf who was snoring. The huntsman has been looking for the wolf for a long time. At long last, he had found him.
So in the picture, this is the huntsman here, right? And it's very important to say that the wolf ate the grandmother and the girl all in one piece. So that was important. And to snore is when you are asleep and you make the noise of, right? So that's when you are asleep and you snore and you make a noise. Okay. The huntsman lifted his gun and was just about to shoot when he had a thought. Maybe the old woman was still alive inside the belly. So the man took a pair of scissors and cut open his belly. He saw a red hood popping out, and then Little Red Riding Hood jumped out. The huntsman cut a bit more, and the grandmother came out too. The Little Red Riding Hood gathered some stones and they filled the wolf's belly with them. When he woke up, he was scared and tried to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he fell down dead. The three ate some cake, happy in the knowledge that the wolf was not going to be a danger anymore. Little Red Riding Hood decided never to leave the path again and listened more carefully to what her mother told her. So here we have the final picture. We can see the huntsman and the wolf who is dead. And we can see the grandmother with Little Red Riding Hood sitting down to cake. So what do you think about this story?
To me, this story is very meaningful it's a moral story, right?
Yes, so normally, even though they say it's a story for children, and there is a hidden moral inside the story. And also I've noticed that sometimes children's stories are quite frightening. If you think about it, the world. So the moral to this story, do you know the moral to this story? What should we learn from this story?
Yes, we be careful with strangers. We be careful with give strangers our information.
Right. So maybe we can learn from this story not to tell strangers too much information about ourselves. And when our parents tell us to do something, it's for a reason, even though we may not understand it.
Yeah.
So when did you read this story? Do you remember?
Yes, I read this story when I was in primary school.
Right. And in what language did you read it?
I read it in Vietnamese.
Right. Okay. So Nghia, thank you for helping me to read this story. I hope our viewers will like it. And it's a very classical, traditional story that is translated into many languages.
Yes.
So thank you for coming today. And let's see what we do next time.
Yeah, thank you.